Pete, can we do your interview now?
Oh, for sake. Is this that three old guys jealous of Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney doc? Yeah, I guess.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do 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 do
I'm Kevin Day, and today on the Price of Football podcast, American invasion or infestation?
Hi, I'm Rob Couhig. I'm a 74-year-old lawyer, former businessman, former baseball owner, resident of the city of New Orleans, and I find myself here in High Wycombe.
Wycombe Wanderers, bought by Rob Couhig. Interesting town, interesting club, and he's had some great ideas, but God love him, I bet he gets called the Ugly Yank at least 15 times a day.
It's a sport. It's entertainment.
I'm Simon Hallett, I'm 68 years old and I'm chairman of Plymouth Argyle Football Club. I've been here 33 years in the United States. I made my money helping to run an investment firm in New Jersey. A few years ago I decided that I'd like to get involved with my boyhood football club, Plymouth Argyle, so I gave them a call and asked how I could help. They were recovering from financial difficulties. I happened to have some money.
Simon Hallett at least sounds like an Englishman. Plymouth Argyle, big club, big crowds. The only problem is Plymouth is about as close to London as London is to the sun.
Hi everyone, I'm Nigel Travis. I was born about 5 miles away, just down there, a place called Woodford. I've spent most of the last 30 years in America, running companies like Papa John's, Dunkin' Brands, which is Dunkin' Donuts, but now I'm in a different world. I'm in the home of my beloved club, Leyton Orient.
Nigel's done some great things at Orient already, but Brisbane Road isn't exactly the new stadium at Tottenham.
Hey guys, this has been a lot of fun so far. I own an English Football League team. You two do as well. But we got to have some competition amongst ourselves. We need some action amongst ourselves.
So, Rob, I'm not very good at carrying cash around, but I think I'd be willing to take out $5 for who finishes the highest in the league this year.
I'm in, Nigel. $5 is a lot of money, but I think it shows that it's not really about the money, it's about the winning, isn't it?
Well, and I can't wait to put that $5 on my study wall.
Well, you're going to be waiting a long time because you're going to finish bottom based on where we are right now.
I get a kick out of Nigel. I have a little internal bet as to how long it takes him before he mentions that he's the former CEO of Dunkin' Donuts.
I'm pretty confident that we'll do okay this year, but what we really want to do is beat Rob Couhig.
I look at where we are right now, and Rob is just above us. By the end of the season, watch out, Rob, we're going to be ahead of you.
We'll see where this all ends up. Simon's got a lot of money. Nigel talks like he's got a lot of money. And for me, I could always use $5.
The one thing you need to know about English football fans is that we are insular, tribal and suspicious. We invented the game, we made the rules, we gave it to the rest of the world, and now you want to muck about with it.
And with that goal, it's going to be the 3 points for Wycombe Wanderers here at Adams Park. It's a win that will move them even further into mid-table. The Blues certainly won't be getting promoted this season, but they won't be going down either.
First things first. At least Nigel and Simon, most of the other owners, had a head start on how the English Football League even works. But now, a few years into this, I think I've got it. Remember, I'm a lawyer, not a brain surgeon, not an astrophysicist, but I think I've got the basics of how it works now. Underneath the Premier League, which is where all the famous teams like Man U, Man City, Liverpool are, the next best 72 teams in the UK are split into 3 different leagues. The worst 3 teams from the Premier League drop into the Championship. Not the Champions League, by the way. That's a whole different thing that I kept getting wrong. It's the Championship. My team was in the Championship 2 years ago against all odds, then got relegated back down the ladder. Meanwhile, Simon's team went up to the Championship this year. Good for him. Nigel's team went up to League One from League Two. Good for him. So Nigel and I are now in League One together, 2 of the 24 teams on that level. There are 24 clubs in the Championship as well, and 24 clubs at the League Two level. Added up, that's 72 clubs in the EFL, below the 20 in the Premier League that everyone has heard of. Conventional wisdom is no one makes money at the EFL level. You can bring in $100 million, but you're always going to be spending 101. This is the conventional wisdom that I'm trying to change with Wycombe Wanderers. By being smart, by being creative, by bringing a little bit of America to the sporting scene, I hope to make a buck or a shilling or a pound or whatever they call it over there.
Rob is a very hard-charging person, as is everyone in our family. So there were numerous altercations between the 2 of us growing up. Most of the time it didn't result in fisticuffs, but sometimes it did. We had an old basketball goal sort of nailed to the side of a cypress tree that had a big knot underneath the goal. And so it was sort of our goal to wait till the other guy was going in for a layup and push his head into the stump on the side of the cypress tree. And that's usually when blows would be exchanged.
We were 6 kids, but they only said 5 places because they wanted you to understand it's a competitive world out there. They would never break up a fight. They would always say, look, you go get it and you win.
Well, anyway, we were having Thanksgiving at our house 7 years ago, and Rob has started talking about something he knew almost nothing about, which was soccer, English football, and we were egging him on, saying, you know, you don't know anything about football.
So I used to own a minor league baseball team that was pretty successful, and somehow it got around to, I bet I could run one of those teams, and I don't think I had ever watched a full soccer game in my life.
He made this pronouncement that he had decided to go buy an English football team. And of course, both Peter, my son, and I were very discouraging. You know, Rob, you don't know what you're doing. It's a very costly hobby. You're not going to make any money. It's going to bring you great joy, but also great misery. I think the English have a term that's really fitting. It's the hope that kills you.
Isn't that good?
Rob's experience with minor league baseball and trying to just do anything we could to improve the match day experience. I think that first year we had Tom Carriage meat pies at the stadium before COVID shut that down. We definitely, I mean, that year we had the best pies in all of English football.
Really, you're almost the mascot. It's somebody that they can identify with, who's going to be there next year.
Best thing and the most challenging thing about Rob are the same thing. Rob does not know how to say no or give up on a situation. And sometimes that's great because you go the extra mile for people and so forth. And sometimes in professional sport, you need to be a little bit cold-blooded.
Paparazzi, you can't get away from them.
I never intended to buy the club. I was a lifelong fan since 1959. I first went to my beloved Brisbane Road in October '59, home game against Sunderland, 1-1, 16,000 fans. And we got into trouble with a previous ownership, and a group of us came together in a consortium and bought the club in 2017. A club that I have to say was devastated and nearly bankrupt and nearly went out of existence. Morale was terrible. It was the middle of the year. We hadn't sold any season tickets. We didn't have a training ground signed up for the next year. It was a complete disaster, and someone had to step in, and we set in place a 6-year plan to get back to where we started, which was League One. And unlike many plans, we did it exactly in 6 years. I've run businesses that I believe in getting everyone on board. I never do anything on my own. I always get everyone fully on board. And my family have been great. My wife in particular has been so supportive. Whenever she wants to buy anything, and I kind of complain about it, she said, yeah, but I didn't buy a football club. And to be honest, to buy a football club, you have to be slightly insane, so I'm probably insane.
To be fair to Nigel, he had a 6-year plan at Orient and he's nailed it. The only trouble is, there are more years to come.
East London's a fascinating area because it is, what most people know of it is Cockney land. So, you know, the rhyming slang like the apples and pears means the stairs. It was a little bit like Boston where we are now. It was tough back in the day. There was a lot of crime.
It's so important that Nigel is now here. He's got a real feeling for the club. He loves the club. And he only takes people on board that shares his views and ambitions and dreams. And the way it's going so far is fantastic.
And I think one of my criticisms of football is it doesn't necessarily keep up to date. There's a lot of people who live in the past. One of the things I always say is today is the slowest day you'll ever see because the world's just going to get faster. And part of that is the world is going to be different. Something like that. In the UK, they're generally referred to as supporters. So they are supporting the club. And in the word supporter, the definition is the club and success on the field is what's important. In America, they talk about fans because they are going to be entertained. So I think there is a difference between the two. Listen, I don't want any more good passes because last time you said that, remember what happened?
Oh no. Yeah, you're right. So my dad and I have a really good relationship with the club and how we watch it together. Right now I'm at the University of Virginia and I'm not here every Saturday at 10 a.m. to watch the game, which is definitely a sad thing because it was our tradition to always watch it unless I had like, I don't know, an exam, homework, something like that. But I would always prioritize Orient. Even in class, I would have Orient on one tab and then my schoolwork on the other. Like I'm always trying to talk and he's always like, shh, like I'm watching the game. And I'm like, Dad, we're here together, let's talk. And he's like, no, let's talk at halftime. It's annoying, we have to solve this problem, right? Like,
being a caretaker of the club, I think sums it up nicely. It doesn't matter whether it's Leyton Orient, whether it's Wycombe Wanderers, whether it's Hartlepool United, wherever it is, their football club is probably the most important thing in their life.
The thing about Simon and the ukulele is I never really appreciated what a nice instrument the ukulele is until he started to play the harmonica.
Playing the ukulele is one on this long list of things that he stumbled upon and decided he had to master. Now, I'm using the term master loosely.
When I first broached the question of becoming an investor in Plymouth Argyle, I started talking to Jane and saying, hey, I've had this idea that maybe it would be a good thing to take a small stake. And she cut me off and she said, you've already done it, haven't you? And I had to confess I had.
He is so enthusiastic about everything. He doesn't do anything halfway. Everything, he just plunges straight into it. And sometimes that works. Mostly it works. Sometimes I have to hold him back a little bit. But it seems to have worked out well with Argyle.
I knew she'd support me doing it. She knew that I was interested in football. She knew that I was an Argyle fan. And as she said to the press, I think a couple of months after I became a shareholder, she said, now I understand what's been going on. You know, this guy I've been sleeping with all these years wearing Argyle kit.
What I think colour dark green is that it does not like me.
She hates the colour green. She's always hated the colour green, I think partly because I've always gone around in green or olive colours, which she looks upon as drab, but my other hobby is fishing, where you tend to wear kind of green and drab stuff. So she's used to me looking rather drab, and she hates looking rather drab herself.
He's supposed to be the financial expert in the family, but I thought, this is a really stupid investment. But then he told me, no, it's not because he wants to invest in it. It's because he wanted to be involved in the club. He wanted to help the club. And so I thought, oh, well, I'm okay with that, so long as you don't actually think you're going to make any money.
He and Jane are extremely generous to people in need, to causes, and generally on an anonymous basis.
It's not possible anywhere to make money. And I am a businessman, but I've always said that we don't run Plymouth Argyle like a business. We will be business-like, in that we will think carefully about how we spend our money, think about the returns on that money, and think about, the opportunity costs of, for example, buying a new player. There's always something else you could do with your money at a football club.
I thought it was wonderful. I was a little concerned for him that he, might be going in naively.
Rather, we took a view about 5 years ago that the limited resources we had were going to be directed at improving the fan experience. So the reason why Plymouth Argyle should be America's team is because of the close association between Plymouth, Devon, and the United States of America. We wear the Mayflower on our badges. We're sitting in the Mayflower grandstand. We just passed the 400th anniversary of the sailing of the Mayflower. You can go to Plymouth and walk on the Mayflower steps from where the Pilgrims set forth. So that's the kind of historic links between Plymouth and the United States that America started, or the modern America started in Plymouth, Devon.
When Simon first got involved with Argyle, I thought, well, I'll go to a match or two and, I'll just be supportive and then I'll kind of fade out. But what actually happened was that the community was so brilliant. Everyone was so nice, everyone was so welcoming, and I just felt a part of it immediately.
Here in Plymouth, we're a town that's a good sports town, but has a history of not much success. I think many Americans like the underdog. I live near Philadelphia, which is a, gritty, post-industrial town, kind of blue-collar town, and Plymouth is similarly a blue-collar town.
There's nothing fancy about the town of Plymouth. There's nothing fancy about their supporters, except for the fact they turn up in numbers every week.
I see a little bit of a parallel with the Green Bay Packers, a team that's become a little bit of a darling throughout America. Now, I think they've been more successful on the pitch than we have. They've obviously won the World Championship a couple of times, but here's a club that's owned by its fans. It's deeply embedded in the culture of Green Bay and the Midwest. And I think Plymouth Argyle are deeply embedded in the culture of the Southwest and Devon and Cornwall.
We all sing, Chair Boys forever. That's what it means to be Wycombe strong.
So, BC is, as we know it religiously, before Christ. It's a phrase that I've come up with here at Wycombe Wanderers, which is before Couhig.
I said, you don't know me, and candidly, I don't know y'all. I think I'm a delightful person. I think everybody ought to love me. My wife loves me. So far I got one.
Because we have the time, the many, over 100 years of Wycombe Wanderers before Rob and his family got involved. And then there is the bit afterwards. Rob, he's all about looking forward. So whenever we try and do something, obviously I remember lots of great things about this club that go way back. And Rob rolled his eyes at me and I go, yeah, okay, BC, I get it.
We need to be able to come to a situation where we can build an economic model that makes sense. We've been fortunate in our lives to have developed some money, but I am not so rich, nor does it make good sense to just pour money into a team so that I can have 5 years of parading myself around and saying, look at me, what I'm doing. What I'm interested in doing, in everything I've done, is building a culture and an institution for success.
They laughed at him when he said that we should be a championship club, and 12, 18 months later, we were in the championship, and incredible. There's still things he said he's going to achieve that people laughed at, and some are still laughing now, and some of them haven't happened yet, but who's to say if they will or not?
You got a chance, Simon, to revitalize your team by bringing in a new manager. Good for you.
According to the newspaper I read this morning, we're bringing in Nigel's manager. First I've heard of it, but apparently that's the rumour this morning.
Okay, all right. So here's the deal. I mean, you can offer me $3 million now. We could do with 3 million, Simon. I mean, knowing what you do for a living, you only have to go out and make a few intelligent wagers, and we might be willing to talk. But 3 million is the starting price. What do you think, Rob?
I think if you get 3 million for Richie, you're the greatest salesman of all time.
I was going to say, say in my business, I'm a seller at 3.